योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्.
It is about 50 years ago, in 1934, in the month of June, I started yoga. And it was in 1954 I visited this country. And today I am again facing you all after finishing my 50 years of practice, so that how yoga has to be practiced uninterruptedly, irrespective of time, place and space. No doubt, there are so many books on yoga written by so many people. If God had created an ocean of ink, the ocean would have been dried out by now. And yet, it's a great joy to see that there is a tremendous interest still in all of you. Though Patanjali starts yoga with a discipline, anushasanam, he says, and today, in modern terminology, indiscipline is life of a libertine, and discipline means a way towards physical, mental, moral and spiritual discipline. And at the same time it stands today that discipline is religion, indiscipline is irreligion. Patanjali, having evolved in his approach to life, studies the various fluctuations of the consciousness, which in gross terminology we use the word mind. The first chapter deals with the modulations and fluctuations of the consciousness and how it can be controlled by practice of the 8 aspects of yoga, which he explains later, which is known as a forward journey from the body towards the soul, which are known as yama, niyama, asana, pranayama and pratyahara. Then he takes us to a reverse path, a return journey from the body towards the soul, And this return journey is termed as renunciation, not renouncing the world. Knowing the seat or the seed of consciousness, having realized it, he shows the way through dharana, dhyana and samadhi, how one can reach and live in the abode of the soul forever, so that all his actions, when he performs in the world, will not reflect any reactions on that wise yogi. In the second chapter, he speaks of the sufferings, sorrows of the human being. Whereas in the first chapter, about the fluctuations of the mind, second chapter about the sorrows of man. And he says that the mother of all sorrows is want of spiritual knowledge. Use of the word avidya. Then he differentiates the intellectual defects, the emotional defects, and instinctive defects. How one who is wise enough to discipline penetrates these things and comes out of the clutches of want of knowledge, egoism, the transient happiness, because they carry sorrows behind, which leads to malice, and then the fear of death or attachment to life. If this can be transformed by realizing that the cause of these defects or on account of this self coming in contact with this scene, the desires are set in. As the desires are set in, they bring in chains, mixed sorrows and mixed pleasures. Through the practice of yoga and with power of discrimination, he explains in various places that the analytical brain, which is the front, reasoning brain, which is at the back, the pleasures and pains which are imprinted at the bottom of the brain, and the individuality or the I, which is on the top of the brain, if these four parts of the brain, which has various directions, are brought from the periphery towards the center of the stem of the brain, then the analytical brain, the reasoning brain, the blissful brain, and the egoistic brain comes to a state of silence. When that silence is reached, the brain and the mind rests without any fluctuations. And one should not be caught, he says, in that state, because it is only a spiritual plateau, a spiritual desert. From that state, through faith, vigor, tremendous absorption and effort, one has to proceed further in order to experience the seed of all movements, the source of all movements, which we call the seat of conscience. And through the various aspects of yoga, if one reaches that state of being, where it is second to none, and it is an indistinguishable existence, indivisible existence, then at that state, the aspirant of yoga develops the intelligence to such an extent that his intelligence is in par with his soul. And that intelligence is the pure intelligence which is one with his soul. Today, we are presenting one of the aspects of yoga called asana. This aspect of asana covers, when properly done, all the 7 other aspects of yoga. The intellectual discipline is dharana and dhyana, and the spiritual discipline is Ishvara Pranidhana. And he divides these 3 again as the 3 paths which we all know: tapas as karma marga, swadhyaya as jnana marga, marga means path, and Ishvara Pranidhana as bhakti marga. So in order to reach the highest level in perfect action, in perfect intelligence, in perfect surrender, Patanjali says yoga is alone the foundation. And while performing the asanas, niyamas, I will just give an example of niyama, do's and don'ts. What one should not do is yama, what one should do is niyama. Ahimsa, satyamasteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, non-violence, truthfulness, stealing, celibacy, and greediness. To possess. These belongs to the organs of action. Hands, legs, mouth, excretory and generatory organ, or the organs of action. Organs of perception: eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. They are controlled by the niyamas known as Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhanani Niyamaha. So by these practices, the organs of perception are controlled and the organs of action are controlled by yamas. Then by the asanas, when you have developed, what do? We have about 700 muscles in our system, major muscles, and innumerable minor muscles, 300 joints, 6,000 miles of nerve current, and 60,000 miles of blood flowing in this human system. And our chest is as big as a tennis court if it is opened. And these asanas were given in order to develop this potentiality of keeping the entire links of the human system so that they can work with concord and harmony. In order to study the self, you have to know how to use the energy in the system, what is known as pranayama. They are twin brothers. Wherever the consciousness is, there the energy is. Wherever the energy is, there the consciousness rests. As these 2 rivers have to be brought together in order to make the bioenergical system, the blood current and the nerve current, to go without any interruption in these 700 odd muscles, 300 odd joints, so that the current can flow. When the current flows, then having obtained, understood the usage of consciousness and the usage of energy, which is under the grip of the aspirant, then he speaks of mind control, which is known as swadhyaya. Swa means self, Adhyaya means study, study of the self from the body to the soul. Now about asanas. Prayatna shaitilya ananta samapatibhyam. When the effort is tremendously effortful in order to acquire mastery over the pose, then there is a duality between the doer and the pose, or the asana, or the posture. When the effort becomes effortless, then the very asana becomes the subject in you, because the asana is the object, the doer is the subject. So there is a tremendous difference between the doer and the object, subject and the object. When the effort becomes effortless, then the doer becomes one with the object, the posture. When that becomes one, that asana, sthirasukamasanam, he has mastered that asana because he has developed firmness in the body, poise in his mind, and benevolence in his consciousness. Each asana, when performed, has to bring that benevolence. If it does not, then it is not at all a spiritual practice of the asana. Each asana has to be perfected, and when it is perfected, that person is fit for pranayama. He says, when after mastering, there are 3 types of movements called inhalation, exhalation, retention. These 3 movements are again divided at inhalation, retention, exhalation, retention, and inhalation, exhalation. Then he gives the 4th one, which he says there is no bahya, there is no abhyantara. That means there is no inhalation, there is no exhalation, there is only kumbhaka, which Hatha Yoga text calls as kevala kumbhaka. And when this kevala kumbhaka is perfected, where the breath is held without deliberation of inhalation and exhalation, tatakshiyate prakashavaranam, the brain which was clouded with various outside influences are completely eradicated, and he develops a clarity in his brain. That person is fit to go on pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. But with these few words, my pupils will be showing what they have learnt for you to see. As I said, that I cannot show much on pranayama due to want of time. Just I present you one inhalation, exhalation and retention to give you an idea of how it has to be done. This is inhalation. That means while doing pranayama, just as the water, when spilled on floor, how gradually it spreads, covers the area, the breath should be taken in such a way that it should not disturb the cells of our bronchial tubes or the air cells. They should be tried in such a way that the breath goes and wets and supplies the energy to the air cells which are situated on the sides of the lungs. And there should be no tension in both inhalation, exhalations or retentions. Now that is now retention. No tension on my face, you can see. No strain on my ribs, no strain on muscles. Of course I can keep long, but it will tire you only. Now in this retention, when it is done, it is not the holding of the breath, which we all illusively think that we are holding the breath, but when we are inhaling, as the breath moves, the intelligence from the source, from the conscience, sprouts and covers it. So when we are holding the breath, it is not that we are holding the breath, to be said, it is we are holding the self which moved in the intelligence to retain that in that area. Now again, if you see my skin is parallel to the cells. Now when many of us do, can you see the diagonal stretch of the skin, which is not at all a kumbhaka, it's violence against on the cells. So when we have to do it, I'm holding the breath. In that holding the breath, I'm holding my consciousness. I'm holding my intelligence not to oscillate at all. The very self, which has come to the surface, I grip this self. Similarly, exhalation. The sound should vanish by itself with that rhythm sound. And the sound becomes silent, so you have to see that the energy which has been drawn in is retained in the system, and in the exhalation only unwanted toxins are thrown out and not the real energy to go with it. It should be minimized. And that's how the pranayama has to be done. We start with the standing poses first. As I said, This is the physical action, legs and arms. Now when I am standing in Tadasana, just standing on the feet without feeling the bottom of the feet, how it is feeling the texture of this mat, which side it is feeling more, which side it is feeling less. So to feel, it means the mind is brought to descend from the brain to the foot as the energy of the foot is ascending towards the brain. So as the body intelligence is ascending, brain intelligence is made to descend so that they both communicate and commune each other in the flow of movement. So first is Trikonasana. Each asana has to be done on both these sides, keeping as far as you can at your own time. Parshvakonasana, the lateral movement. Each muscle has to be measured. If you do like this, say this is shorter, this is long, the back muscle, front muscle, how one has to balance each and every part of our body, that is known as self-study. The physical body has to be balanced to the inner intellectual body while performing. So you have to be when we do it, we have to observe all these things. If you see how the square forms, if you do, it is a wrong pose. Can you see now? Here when we stay, there's a normal breathing. Virabhadrasana. See how I am adjusting myself. So mobility and rigidity should be going together. Variation. Parivarta Trikonasana. You can see the lateral movement of the spine. How it revolves and moves laterally. I am showing one side to save time. Parivarta Parshvakonasana. If you observe, you can see how the muscles are massaged, abdominal organs. So it gives you an idea how these physical postures have a physiological bearing. Organically, how these muscles react on the physiological aspect of the body. Parshvottanasana. Just as we fold our hands on the front, similarly, stiff shoulders, stiff elbows, stiff wrists is a very good pose. These are the standing poses. Why we give standing poses in the beginning is, the brain fluid. If we stand wrongly, even the fluid on the head of the spine oscillates. So when we stand firmly, so the brain also exactly balances on the center of the fluid without extra disturbance in the fluid. That's why how to stand, how to make legs stable, so that the brain inside also may remain stable. All these asanas were introduced. So body weight has to be measured in each and every part of our body. While doing the asanas, you have to see that they are properly adjusted. So you have to go on stretching, opening, and further and further. So that each part of the spinal muscles, 33 muscles, are evenly stretched on either side without any variation on the right or the left. Then it is called Paschimottanasana, or the sympathetic nervous system, which gets tremendous supply to supply energy to the entire system. Janu Shirishasana. Janu means the knee. Shirsha means the top. And when we have to do, the top should be exercising when we are going forward. So as I'm moving forward, you can see that leg is moving backward. Parivritta Janu Shirishasana. This is also Yoga Academy, so naturally yoga is a big institute of the human system, where body, mind and soul are all involved. Parivritta means rotation, Janu means the same knee, Shirsha means the head. In this one, the spine is extended, the abdominal muscles are contracted. Here, the spinal muscles are contracted, the abdominal muscles are extended. That is known as supplying the energy. In yoga, yoga is a nature cure treatment. Here, we depend on two gates which are important for life. One is respiratory system, one is circulatory system. If these two gates of the human life goes wrong, the entire life is gone. So here, in each various movements you see, the blood is brought to circulate with a tremendous concentrated force on those areas, so that those parts are irrigated. So it is an irrigative system, asanas. Each and every part has to be irrigated. Now here, I am locking. Can you see my heel? You cannot see my heel at all. So that means my heel is pressing the bladder, creating a sort of spasm at the floor of the bladder, so that even after 10 years I may not suffer from what you call enlarged prostates. Same way, various movements I am showing. This is known as Triyangmukhaika Pada Paschimottanasana. 3 phases. 1, 2, and 3. Kraunchasana. Here, Kauncha is the son of the Himalayas, means a mountain. It's also a bird, it's also a mountain. So if you see the floor is too broad, and as you go up, it ends with a tip. That's the name of that asana. Upavishta Konasana. When I do it home, I stay several minutes. So here I'm doing a demonstration, that's all. So don't think that when you go home that you have to do as I'm presenting. Now, here I'm presenting as a performer, not as a teacher. So various movements are like that. Baddha Konasana. Kona means angle, Baddha means firm, sitting firmly creating an angle. This is a very good pose,
especially for ladies, when there is a tremendous heavy flood in the menstrual time, and very good at the time of pregnancy, where varicose veins do not develop, and at the same time labor pain lessens because the spasms start functioning in this pose, so that easy delivery takes place. Bhuja Pidasana. Bhuja means shoulder, Pida means pressurizing and balancing. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika they say, Kuryat tad asanam sthiryam arogyam anga laghavam. When you are doing the asanas, it's not only the health of the body, health of the mind, but lightness both in body and mind. Laghavam means lightness. So you can say I'm talking and still I'm staying. Tittibhasana. Ashtavakrasana. How the body in those days, the yogis were finding methods to balance in various directions. Kurmasana or the tortoise. You know, in Gita, you come across where the yogis, like the turtle, how it takes its limbs inside, into the shell, and come what may, it does not come out of the shell. Here also the yogi says that if you want to be like a turtle, remain within the shell, the back becomes the shell, and take your eyes and ears deep inside. And you experience, because you are completely lose the contact with the external world and you are alone within yourself. Kurmasana. That is Supta Kurmasana. Vatayinasana. So now we can understand whether your joints move like my joints or not. How can disease come into my body if each and every joint of mine is kept under control? So there is no room for diseases. Patanjali says, Heyam dukkam anagatam. You do not know what is going to be in store for you in the future. So protect from now on so that the future afflictions may not come with that velocity to attack you and make you a negative person. Build tremendous defensive energy within you so that the offensive diseases are kept away through our defensive strength. That is why he has said, not only you have to do for the present, but think of the future too. In order to protect the future, you have to start the present. That's how the Patanjali commences. Vasishthasana. Vishwamitrasana. Head balance, Shirshasana. You can see the rhythm. Nothing happens. So it is a question of only practice and right adaptation of the muscles. Variation in head balance. Now after doing, see how I stretch my legs. So I'm feeling the joints. Each part of the body has to do its function. That is known as niyama, discipline. So how to counteract the stretches? Where to surrender, where not to surrender, how to surrender. All are there. You know, the body comes to such an extent that even the knees, everybody say, I can't do it. Now you see. I alternate, but you never know. That is known as freedom in the body. So when once the freedom is there in the body, the mind does not get attached to the body. So it finds its other level. Now you can take care of yourself. Let me go for something more. That is known as fest of the soul. Now you can see how the side just puffs up like the trunk of a bird. Can you see how much it has to open? This is Sarvangasana. Sarva means whole, Anga means limbs. This is the physical meaning. But physiologically, psychologically and spiritually, Sarva means the entire vehicles of the soul, the consciousness, the conscience, the consciousness, the intelligence, the mind, the organs of perception, organs of action, entire, all joints of the body, circulatory system, digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, everything, glandular system, all brought to balance on each other, then it is known as Sarvangasana. Halasana. Hala means a plow. These are, in olden days they were using the bullocks to plow the field. So these two acts as oxen, and this is the plow. The man standing here uses this plow to dig the earth. So with his hand you have to dig. That's why it's called halasana, parshva halasana, lateral movement. Ekapada Sarvangasana. You can see that big toe also, how much it is active. bridge, where the two poles, the head and the feet, are brought to be stretched towards the emotional center, which we call the intelligence of the heart. In this pose, the brain is completely rested, but the mind is lifted up. The subconscious mind is lifted up and it is made to become conscious, and the conscious brain is made to become subconscious. And that's why this is a very good pose to develop confidence, emotional disturbances. This is the shape of the peacock. Various movements. You can see these are all meant for the kidneys and the spinal supporting muscles of the heart, so that if there is once an attack on the heart, the spindle muscles becomes very hard and they don't come to normalcy. In these various movements, they lose that grip, that tautness, and again will have the power to take the attack of the heart. Now what I am going to do this pose is the thoracic dorsal spinal curvature. Pindasana. Lateral movement. This is for the transverse colons. Exercise for the transverse colons. Supta Padangusthasana. Circulatory paralysis, injured like shortness of the legs, we give these poses. Whatever I have shown up to now, irrespective of age, all can do. Yuva vruddho ativruddho va vyadito dirbalo viva. Abhyasat siddhimapnoti sarva yogis svatandritaha. Whether he is young, old, or ripe old, invalids, if they take to practice yoga, they will certainly improve, so they all are fit for yoga. This is the quotation from the text. Now I'll show you some balancing poses. Bakasana. Various balancing poses they are known as. Parshvabakasana. This is known as Urdhva Dhanurasana. That is Viparita Chakrasana. Kaulinyasa. Ekapada Kaulinyasa. Viparita Chakrasana.
దొరికెను ధనుడనే వినివోరణ మీరిన కాలుని దూత
Ekapada Kalavasa.
మృత్యుయని మదినమ్మన్నా తారక మంత్రము కోరిన దొరికెను
Kalavasa.
వినివోరణ ఎన్ని జన్మముల నుండి చూచినను ఏకో నారాయణుడైన
Kandasana.
జన్మముల చేసిన పాపము
As you all fold your hands as a salutation, you can see the movement of the hips, the movement of the knees, circumferential movement of the ankles, knees and hips.
అన్నిటికి కడసారి జన్మము సత్యంబిక పుట్టుట సున్నా
So as you are sitting, it means I am also sitting in it. This is known as Sthirasukhamasana. Conquest of body is conquest of matter. So if you have not conquered the matter, how can you conquer the spirit? And you say, I can't do it, so naturally that means you cannot conquer the spirit because you have not conquered the matter. Without matter you cannot go higher. Same way, Mula Bandhasana. This is quite opposite to that movement. Can you see the arch of the foot? Now this how flat foot never comes to us because we do these things. This is quite opposite to the one which I did it here. Viparita Dandasana or the salutation in yogic way in the temple. Ekapada Viparita Dandasana. I salute Hanuman. Natarajasana. That is Natarajasana. Then I always salute my favorite deity, the Lord Hanuman, the god of wind, who with one swing, if you all know the story of Ramayana, where he jumped, took a leap from Sri Lanka to the Himalayas, one swing to bring the elixir of life for Rama's brother, who was almost in deathbed. So I salute him, which you call the spit pose. Friends, I am grateful to you all for your complete absorption for 2 hours in this subject.